A chaplain can be a pastor, priest, rabbi, or imam, and can serve in a hospital, prison, university, or in the military. There have been countless chaplains of different faiths that have served the United States military during the tumultuous 20th century. Of all those chaplains, 5 have committed acts of bravery that earned them a Medal of Honor. All 5 of them were Catholic priests. Here are their stories. Joseph T. O'Callaghan was born May 14, 1904, in Boston, Massachusetts. Raised in a Catholic family, he joined the Jesuits, a Roman Catholic order. He spent 13 years of required training and education at St. Andrew's College in Poughkeepsie, New York. Following his training, O'Callaghan became a mathematics, physics, and philosophy professor at Boston College and College of the Holy Cross in Worcester, Massachusetts. In 1940, he decided to enlist into the Navy Chaplain Corps as a lieutenant, just before the United States entered World War II. As the war progressed, Lieutenant Commander O'Callaghan was assigned to the USS Franklin in 1945. On March 19, 1945, the aircraft carrier was attacked by Japanese aircraft. O'Callaghan bravely navigated the flames and exploding bombs from the attack to assist the injured and dying. He also helped to arrange teams to put out fires on board and personally used a hose to cool down hot bombs on the deck of the ship. O'Callaghan's effort to save the lives of the crew was an inspiration to those on board and off the Franklin. He was awarded the Medal of Honor by President Harry S. Truman on January 23, 1946. He suffered with the wounds from his Medal of Honor actions for the rest of his life, particularly the damage done to his lungs by the smoke on the Franklin. The destroyer escort USS O'Callaghan was launched on October 20, 1965 in his honor. Emil J. Kapaun was born April 20, 1916, in Pilsen, Kansas. He was raised in the small farming community until he attended Seminary College and Kenrick Theological Seminary in Missouri. He was ordained as a Roman Catholic priest in 1940, and 4 years later joined the U.S. Army as part of the Chaplain Corps. Kapaun served during World War II, where he achieved the rank of captain. He left the Army in 1946 to pursue his master's degree, but he later rejoined the Chaplain Corps in 1948. Captain Kapaun was one of the first to arrive at Korea at the start of the Korean War. He became known for his courage on the battlefield and his provision of spiritual guidance for soldiers. On November 1, 1950, as Chinese Communist forces were attacking, Kapaun navigated through the firefight to offer medical assistance, comfort, and rescue to wounded soldiers. The Americans found themselves encircled by the enemy. Kapaun chose to stay behind with the wounded instead of evacuating. On November 2nd, Kapaun worked with an injured Chinese officer to negotiate for a safe surrender for the Americans. Kapaun was placed in the Pyeongtaung prison camp, where he continued to be an encouragement to the other prisoners. He would give up his food rations and clothes for others. He would also lead his fellow prisoners in prayer meetings. Kapaun passed away at the camp on May 23, 1951, and he was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor on April 11, 2013. The Diocese of Wichita has investigated his life since 2001 and officially opened the cause for his beatification on June 29, 2008. Vincent R. Capodanno was born to Italian immigrants on February 13, 1929, in Staten Island, New York. He was the youngest of 9 children. Devoted to his faith, Capodanno was ordained as a Catholic priest in 1958 and served as a missionary in Taiwan for more than 6 years. During his time as a missionary, he felt the call to service and joined the Marines with the intent to serve those fighting in Vietnam. After completing officer candidate school, Lieutenant Capodanno was stationed with the 1st Marine Division as a chaplain. He chose to live in the same conditions as his Marines, whether on the base or in the battlefield. On September 4, 1967, in Quang Tin Province, Vietnam, Lieutenant Capodanno and his platoon were assaulted by the North Vietnamese enemy. Disregarding his own safety, Capodanno left the command post to run through the open fire to reach the other members of his platoon. He then continued to move around the battlefield to tend to the injured and provide last rites to the dying. Despite a mortar exploding and wounding his arms and legs, Capodanno refused any assistance and continued to aid the wounded Marines. When he noticed an injured corpsman in a direct line of fire of enemy machine guns, Capodanno rushed in to save him, and he was struck down by the machine gun at the last moment. Because of Lieutenant Capodanno's heroic actions, he was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor on January 7, 1969. In 2006, the Catholic Church declared Father Capodanno a servant of God. The destroyer escort USS Capodanno was christened and launched on October 21, 1972. Captain Charles Angelo Liteky was known for his actions during and after the Vietnam War. He was born in Washington, D.C. on February 14, 1931. His family later moved to Florida, and he attended high school, Chipola Junior College, and the University of Florida. He attended seminary in Alabama, Pennsylvania, and Virginia to become ordained as a Roman Catholic priest. Following seminary school, he joined the Army on July 5, 1966, at Fort Hamilton, New York, and trained at the U.S. Army Chaplains School. During the Vietnam War, Liteky served with Company A in Phuoc Lac, Vietnam. On December 6, 1967, while participating in a search and destroy operation with his company, battalion-sized enemy forces attacked. Completely disregarding his safety, Liteky rushed up to the enemy machine gun fire to place himself between two wounded soldiers. He was able to drag the soldiers to safety during a break in the fighting. The company was inspired by Liteky's bravery and were encouraged to keep fighting the enemy. Liteky during that time navigated the battlefield to rescue wounded soldiers who were trapped. One soldier was too heavy to carry, so Liteky put him on top of him and crawled to safety. He had to disentangle another soldier from a thorny underbrush. It was discovered after the firefight that Chaplain Liteky carried over 20 men to safety while sustaining his own wounds. His incredible heroism awarded him the Medal of Honor on November 19, 1968. Major Charles J. Waters was born January 17, 1927, in Jersey City, New Jersey. He was ordained as a Catholic priest in 1953 and served in various towns in the area. Waters joined the New Jersey National Guard as a chaplain in 1962, and later in 1964, he joined the U.S. Army. During the Vietnam War, Waters was deployed to Vietnam and assigned to the 173rd Battalion. After his one-year tour, he chose to stay in for another 6 months. He often stayed with his soldiers in the field, like many of the other chaplains who earned the Medal of Honor. Waters' battalion engaged in an assault on November 19, 1967. He rushed up to the front lines, unarmed, to help the wounded and administer last rites to the dying. He even rescued a wounded paratrooper who was standing in shock in front of the enemy. Later, when his troops were pulling back, Waters noticed more exposed wounded soldiers, and he ran out to help them, despite attempts to hold him back. He continued to help those wounded by providing medical care, food, water, and spiritual comfort. Waters himself had been mortally wounded, but chose to help his fellow soldiers over himself. He was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor on November 4, 1969,